All right, welcome back to Texas A&M Aggies Live, part of the Voice of College Football Network. I'm your host, Cameron Honesty, joined as always by my co-host, Kenan Torres. We have more recruiting news today. We also got some other stuff football-wise to talk about. We'll touch on some basketball, some baseball at the end of the show. But first, the 2027 class it continues to heat up for Mike Elko and his staff, especially on the O-line. But we're going to start with one of the linebackers that highly coveted that A&M just received a prediction to land. So Steve Wilfong of 24/7, previously with rivals now. Caden Henderson, he just received a prediction. He is going to head to College Station for an official visit. I think it's this spring, right, Cannon?
It is this spring, yes.
Yeah. So it's again it's a stacked lineup of visits. Ton of names we can get to. We're going to focus on two players right now. Well, actually, probably three, another additional guy. But Henderson, again, just all-around complete linebacker prospect, somebody that fits what they want to do at the position. New linebacker coach Travis Williams. He, again, when you have a new coach with your staff, he has his vision of what his players want to look like. He wants them to be much bigger than what they had before. Obviously, Torian York, who, again, we're both big fans of, just on the smaller side, probably measured in about 5'10". He's going to be a sneaky player in the NFL draft because I think if he goes to a team where they utilize his athleticism over just his size, like a run defender, I think he'll have a long NFL career. But for A&M now, you kind of see what they're bringing in for the 26 season. Obviously, transfer linebacker Ray Coney. He's about 6'2", 230, I think, so much bigger. Scooby Williams, who actually is a part of the program with Torian York to go to the NFL draft. He's about 6'2", 230. So he was more the prototype they wanted. He was injured most of the year, only played about 6 games. So you gotta think like they wanted more, and they felt like their linebacker unit would be more complete. The run defense would have been a lot better if Scooby Williams was in the lineup for the rest of the season outside of just 6 games. But Henderson is one of those guys. You got to tell me his size because I kind of forgot.
He's around 6'1.5", around 220 pounds already in high school. So if that gives you just a little bit of the measurements that he already has, I mean, he is highly touted across every single recruiting service as one of the best linebackers, if not the best linebacker in the country. So him coming out of Jesuit in Florida, people are obviously going to make connections with the big boys, right? Ohio State is one of the other teams going after Caden Henderson. It's tough to fight off Ohio State with the linebackers that they're putting in this year. I mean, Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles are both projected first-round picks, but A&M has had a modicum of consistency when it comes to linebackers over the past 3 years with people in and out, whether that is Scooby Williams, who you picked up from Florida two seasons ago, or Torian York, who immediately became a starter even as a low 3-star recruit, beating out a lot of talented linebackers in that room. But new linebacker coach Travis Williams has been hot on the trail. As soon as he got the job, he picked up conversations with Henderson from what I've heard. And like you said, this guy is more of that hybrid linebacker defender where he can do well in coverage. He can do well off the edge as a pass rusher. He's very, very violent. So I think he could be one of those future impact players, regardless of wherever he goes. But he is also one of those guys who just has the IQ to go along with the linebacker position. So he'd be a great fit for any program. And the Aggies have been continuing to gain traction for him dating back to the regular season when they hosted him on a visit. And it's just kind of been going up from there, even though linebacker coach and defensive coordinator Jay Bateman went to Kentucky. I think Travis Williams knows the kind of talent he wants, and Caden Henderson is exactly the kind of guy that would fit in this defense.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that's the thing. You hit on every key point about his attributes. It's just a very elite prospect. I mean, he really probably should be a 5-star at this point, but it's kind of harder. You don't see a ton of linebackers get that 5th star. Sometimes they have to be, I think it's more about versatility as a pass rusher as well. If you have that, you're going to end up getting that. But just an all-around, just kind of a perfect prospect in what you need from a linebacker at the next level and in today's game, especially from an athletic standpoint. So you kind of look at what they have right now, and Damian Sanford, Noah McHale is the guy moving up the depth chart, most likely going to contend for a starting or a key reserve spot next season. And again, these are bigger guys. Sanford's more of a coverage guy. So he's more of a one-trick pony, I would say, but he's really come on as a pass rusher. This is a 2-time SEC Player of the Week last season and a 3 or 4-star prospect coming out of high school. Yeah, so I mean, again, you see what they've done with some of these players in terms of development. So you're 100% right to say like Ohio State, like it's going to be very, very tough to compete with a program that has developed guys like Sonny Styles, who you and I, with Dallas Cowboy fans, hope that they can potentially get in the first round because of just how complete of a player he is, now to make an immediate impact for your franchise. And Henderson's, I'm not going to say that he's Sonny Styles, but in the right program with the right coaching staff and the right defense, he could end up being, on the same track to get to that spot, to become a first, second, or third round pick in the future. And I think personally, you and I are both big fans of Travis Williams. I think the whole going from defensive coordinator back to a position coach is very key here because these guys are experts at one position. And they were promoted to defensive coordinator because of their expertise at said position, their success in recruiting and developing players. So getting him back at linebacker coach, both making an impact on the recruiting trail and then seeing how he develops these guys, especially in 2026 with new names on the depth chart. I'm not surprised that Henderson is being predicted A&M right now because, yes, Ohio State is Ohio State. It's always going to be Ohio State. But A&M is just coming off of a historic season. They're on the rise. Mike Elko wasted no time getting 17 transfer portal additions to replenish the roster, avoid a rebuild, and especially at linebacker where it's so important, as we saw last season, that, it starts up front with the D-line to stop the run, but at the second level, linebackers need to be consistent run defenders, and Henderson is one of those guys who could end up being that complete run defender coverage, sack artist potentially, how they use him, type of prospect.
Yeah, definitely one to keep an eye on going forward. I don't think he's going to make a decision, this next week or anything like that with a prediction like this. We are still in a dead period until about March 3rd. But these are more of those projections, right? Where, hey, this is kind of the noise that we've heard over the fall and now the winter with the visits and everything like that. But keep an eye on Caden Henderson and also keep an eye on this next guy we're going to talk about. I think that when it comes to offensive linemen, you and I have gone in depth before about how this 2027 class could be one of the best offensive lineman classes we've seen since maybe even 2025, or 2024.
Yeah.
But the Aggies also receive another prediction for a 4-star offensive tackle, but he's also the #1 player in New Jersey, according to Rivals as well, in Oluwaseminlore Olubobola, who's around a 6'6" offensive tackle and already projects as one of the more elite pass blockers in the class. We've seen that A&M has had success with pass blocking offensive tackles like Trey Zune before and Fothery, and they look to go into New Jersey and pluck out one of the best talents that they have in there. He is a bit of a late bloomer. He first started out in basketball where he thought that would be fun, and I think by his own words in a report made weeks and weeks ago, he just said, "Hey, I wasn't good." So he went over to football, and he's just taken off from there. We've had national recruiting services kind of give him his flowers as this guy who could just project as one of the best pass blockers in the entire class. And that goes up against guys like, Mark Matthews or Kennedy Brown or Ismail Kamara, all of these guys that are just over 270 pounds with these long arms and just all project as elite pass blockers. But Olu really does have that chance to be one of the more elite pass blockers in the class. And A&M has had the momentum for him from everything we've heard behind the scenes. There was even some noise back in the fall where it was like, hey, Aggies could lead for this guy. I mean, this was more when Penn State had James Franklin, and being around that area, I knew that Penn State was also a team that could be in that area just because they recruit New Jersey very well. Rutgers was one I was also looking at. But in this one, just kind of give me your thoughts. I know you've seen some film on him. Just kind of talk about where you see him projecting and what this means for the Aggies.
Well, it's important to note he is a New Jersey native like Mike Elko. So Mike Elko is going to have a very easy time connecting with these guys. He's New Jersey born and bred. Everybody knows his background. Read that great ESP, I think it was Washington Post story about Elko's journey to College Station probably a couple of months ago. Again, this guy's as blue collar as it gets, and he can connect with all these East Coast players and tell them, like, look, we're not just trying to impress. Like, we can go outside like like Jimbo Fisher did, in terms of, look, we can land a guy from New Jersey. We can go into Pennsylvania and land prospects just because we can, just because A&M has that reach. Mike Elko's looking for specific guys who fit what they want from a culture standpoint, and yes, what they want from a skill set standpoint. And in terms of his ability on the field, I mean, I was blown away. We're talking about that pre-show. I love this kid. I mean, he is just, his pass protection skill set right now is up there with a second-year college player. I mean, he is somebody who we thought like Lamont Rogers would be, could immediately come in and provide depth. And it's mainly because, like, we saw Trey Zune was one of those great examples of that. A 4-star prospect, yes, an Aggie legacy, so he had this connection to A&M, but nobody knew how fast it would be to him coming to College Station, developing for about a year, and then end up starting at left tackle and become a very reliable pass protector. He got better as years went on as a complete offensive lineman. But again, nobody gets past this kid. And even run blocking, he's pretty darn good. I mean, even at 6'6", some of those guys are a little static, especially on pins and bowls, and they're not as athletic. But he can bowl those guys. He's pure strength. I mean, he's about 290 right now. You and I both think probably in his first full off season, he could add about 10, 15 pounds of muscle, and it's really not going to make him look that much different. It's just going to help fill out his overall frame. But he has starting level potential by his second season. That's how good I think this kid is. You mentioned 3 other players, especially Kennedy Brown, that we've talked about on the show, that A&M is in on all of them. I mean, that's kind of crazy. I mean, you think about
so many, man.
Yeah, I mean, they don't basically isolate themselves with like a handful, like maybe 2 guys. Like, they are trying to poach everybody because they know that all these guys are playing left tackle now in high school. They may not be playing that at the next level. They may be going to guard. They may be going to right tackle. It's same thing, right? It's we talked about Kennedy Brown, like extremely long arms. So even though he's about 6'4", maybe 6'5", probably 6'4", he could play tackle, but you mainly want to use him at guard, right? Because he's just going to be locked down in pass protection because of that arm length, and he's already a proven run blocker. It's the same here. And I just love the approach here, right? Because you said, nothing's fake here. They Rutgers and every other East Coast program that could also throw money here and throw all the resources to landing a future NFL prospect and basically telling them, look, like, we remember with Chase Basantis, right? Also from New Jersey. Rutgers was the favorite early on. A&M swooped in there late under Jimbo Fisher. And I mean, this Basantis is probably going to be a high second-round pick after 3 seasons, so he could be on the same trajectory and maybe even better because of just the film alone at this stage. If he's this good now, he's going to be even better as the years go on. So I'm hyped about this kid. I really hope A&M can land him. And I don't want to sound biased there because if he even went anywhere, I'd be excited to watch him play at the next level because there are certain tackle prospects that I've watched over the years, and I've watched a lot. I mean, I'm 32 years old. I've been doing this for a while, so I've watched a lot of tackles from smaller and bigger programs, and there's just something about him that stands out even more in pass protection, especially at blocking the blind side and being that main guy that's going to prevent his quarterback from getting sacked. You can trust this kid on every snap, and there's a reliability, and I think that his background as a basketball player helps as well. We know that Jimbo Fisher specifically was very focused on getting these versatile athletes that played like 3 sports. Well, even though he wasn't great at basketball, he still played basketball. So he's got that skill set that's helping him as an O-lineman. It's going to continue helping him going forward. So yeah, I'm very high on this kid. I really hope that A&M can get this done.
Yeah, definitely one to keep an eye on going forward. And I think the last one where I was kind of scrambling around to find exactly or just kind of get 100% of the information on, we've been monitoring, guys who are going to take official visits over the summer, right? A lot of the ones have been, that last week in May, first week in June. And one that I was monitoring, even wrote about yesterday before any news came out, was a guy like Jaden Bryant, who the Aggies were in for before he committed to LSU at the start of the new year. They were in his Final Four. He was at LSU, South Carolina, and Miami. He's actually going to take a visit to A&M over the summer. Y'all probably can't see it down at the bottom, but it does say he will visit the 5th through the 7th for official visits. So he's going to be on one of the weeks where it's looking like it's going to be a massive official visit week for A&M. And Jaden Bryant out of Irmo, South Carolina, he is one of the more violent edge defenders in the entire country. Aggies have already hosted him a couple of times over the football season. And so far, I mean, we knew this was going to be a battle. He had developed a relationship with our previous defensive line coach, Sean Chaos Spencer. But since the coming in of Elijah Robinson and continuing to develop with Tony Gerard-Eddy, I think that they're looking for, hey, we need to spread as wide of a net with this edge class as we can. They already have a guy like Caden McCarty, who is one of the more consistent edge defenders in the entire state of Texas, already committed. But they're also looking for over at the talent along the other side of the edge. Caden McCarty himself has said publicly, like, hey, we're not afraid to add more competition and talent to this room. I love that Caden McCarty has been kind of this voice of, hey, come join A&M because we're all in, right? Jaden Bryant could be one of those guys. He is absolutely violent. So he initially committed to LSU because I do believe South Carolina's defensive line coach ended up going following Lane Kiffin down there. So it just said, hey, LSU makes a ton of sense for him. I believe Sterling Lucas is the guy down there now. So really, really, they're going to have to, it's going to take a lot to try and sway him away from LSU and Lane Kiffin right now. But if there's anybody that could do it, it's Elijah Robinson and Mike Elko.
Yeah, again, probably 6'4", almost 6'5", nearly 250 pounds, thick. One of the things that stands out is he's always creating negative plays. I mean, that's the thing we see with these edges is that, yes, the splash plays, the sacks, the tackles for loss are the most important thing, in my opinion. Pressures are more important than sacks. We kind of see that in the NFL. Like, you can get pressure on the quarterback and force him to do a bad pass. You're doing your job. And this is somebody who I kind of call a tweener, someone who can play that 4-eye shade outside the guard and really cause havoc, like in the middle of that pocket. And I mean, you kind of see how he's built, right? Like I said, this is a thick boy. This is somebody who's just going to get, I mean, Nick Scorton-esque, right? Kind of reminds me of Nick Scorton in terms of, I think one of his better comps was one of the Green Bay, I have to look that up, Kingsley and
Enigbare.
Yeah, they're kind of built the same way, right? That's kind of what I've seen.
If y'all haven't seen Kingsley's tape, go back from his high school days and watch Kingsley Enigbare. It's pretty good. So
yeah, and that's the thing. And what I'm really impressed with, he's a pretty good run defender right now. I've been looking at that with a lot of these prospects coming out. Do they stop the run? Do they have instincts to stop the run? Do they have a nose for the football? And that's the most important thing. He's definitely one of those guys who could be, just like you said, violent. And I mean, if he gets in the right system and he gets developed correctly and he adds healthy muscle to his frame, but he plays at a good weight to be that kind of versatile defensive lineman edge type of guy, especially on third down, like we said, like we thought we were going to get from Nick Scorton a little bit. I think when he dropped weight, he was actually better. He was playing a little heavier. So for some of those players, but if he stays at like that 245, maybe a little less, but just gets really big, I mean, watch out. This guy's going to be insane. I mean, with LSU, with A&M, with whoever. But you are right. The coaches, when they leave a program and they go to rival SEC team, I mean, those relationships are so important. So I'm not surprised he committed to LSU, but it is very, very good. And you are right. Like, he's still open. Like, I'm surprised there wasn't a tweet out there saying my recruitment is 100% open. Like we've seen with a lot of those guys when they do commit or they are receiving predictions. I remember John Meredith credit to him. Like, he received a prediction for A&M, and he went out there immediately and said, look, my recruitment's still open. Like, yeah, I have a good relationship with A&M, a good relationship with Alabama, but look, I'm still making a decision here, and they have every right to do that because they don't want to be pigeonholed into saying, like, I'm not going to go visit anywhere else. So that this is a big get for them. I mean, we talk about how good Caden McCartney is. He's doing a good job of recruiting these guys right now. I'll give him credit. I mean, the power of social media with some of these prospects. Like, we saw that with Victor Singleton last year, really going hard after getting to land Brandon Arrington, finishing up that 26 class as well as they did. Those players have a lot to do with that, of just communicating with each other and saying, look, we have a plan here. Like, you come to College Station, we trust Mike Hoke, we trust his coaching staff. And I think now with these coaching staff, kind of the revamped coaching staff, there's a lot of intriguing coaches these guys want to play with, especially Elijah Robinson, right? Tony Girardetti and Elijah Robinson are just a tag team of just two great defensive minds with obviously Tony Girard was a great player for A&M in the past. Elijah Robinson is just one of the best assistant coaches in the country. We remember when he left, how big of a hole, it's both on the recruiting trail and the development. So yeah, I'm kind of talking over myself, but I think we both agree, like, this is probably the biggest guy coming to campus on the defensive side of the ball, for me at least. And if they can land him, I mean, they're going to get the number. They're going to finish with the number 1 ranked 27 class. I don't see how they wouldn't at this point. They're already
there's a very high chance, and we've been very adamant that they finish top 3.
Yeah, because
they're just in on so many guys. It's hard for them, or hard for me to see that they don't end with at least a top 3 class as of right now. A lot could change over these official visits. You could tank one. You never know, right?
True.
Another team could have.
We've seen that all the time.
Another team could have a much better official visit. You never know. I think a lot of these players now, they know that NIL is going to be a factor. But from what I've seen, especially across this 2027 class so far, is that, hey, relationships are still being made a priority in these recruitments and development. What are the plans for these guys that are taking, the number 1 spot? And so far, the track record with A&M, at least from this past cycle in 2026, was, hey, we have a plan for all of these guys. I guarantee you they have a plan for even the guys who are going to be walking on in the program. So it's definitely cool to see it like that. Who knows? But for all the people who are watching this, get in the comments below. Let us know which guy you think, even if they don't have a prediction right now, who do you think that they have the best chance of landing next in the 2027 class?
Yeah, and if you're not watching now, we'll have these videos split up, and we'll be talking about each player specifically, so you'll get all the info, everything going on. Well, and we're going to keep touching on this going on the next.
Going for a lot of this. Off season, but I think before before we go to our next segment, I think it'd be remiss of us to not talk about our wonderful sponsor, Underdog.
Yep. I
think Underdog, for all the people who no longer have football, right? I mean, Underdog is your daily fantasy picks game, right? All you need to do is go onto the app, and you could win up to 1,000x your money just by simply picking between 2 different stats, higher or lower, right? They have a whole bunch of NBA stuff going on right now. As a Spurs fan myself, the Spurs are playing tonight, so I'm taking Victor Wembanyama over anything he has right now. So if you guys are like me and play on there, all you guys need to do is go on Underdog and use our code VOCFB Aggies. That is VOCFB Aggies. You play $5 with that code, you get $50 into your account instantly. So if you're already playing there, why not? Just no sweat. Go ahead, use it. It's free. Might as well.
And as always, if you have a gambling problem, you can always call 1-800-GAMBLER. I think it is interesting to kind of tie up the recruiting end. I was reading an article from Steve Wilfong, I think it was yesterday. He noted like every one of their 10 commits is considered a blue chip prospect. That's why I believe you can hit on 3 or 4 more guys, even more, you're going to get the number 1 class, because they're only going after blue chip guys right now. Like, they're putting everything in. Like we talked about, I saw today, we're going to get to that soon, actually. one of the Cowboy fans I follow, they said, well, there's no small schools on this list of the visits because in the past they'd been having a lot of smaller school guys, maybe that didn't stand out because of where they played and stuff, meeting with Cowboys. And that was mainly just Will McClay's type of tendency to overlook, the school, not look at the Alabama and SEC guys, and more look at some guy from like Central Arkansas because he's 6'6", 250 or something like that. And that's always interesting to me because it's like everybody has their own philosophy when it comes to that. But for A&M, with the resources and where the program is trajectory-wise, go after the best players, all of them. Every single one of them doesn't matter because you're bound to hit on most of them because of where you're at as a program right now. So I love the strategy, and I think I think we're going to see some commitments in the next couple of months. I think there's going to be some early ones. John Meredith, like we had talked about, he's still deciding. Obviously, it's going to come down to A&M and Alabama, possibly in the spring. I don't know. Maybe he'll commit. I think my thing is like he could easily commit to either of those programs, go into the summer, go on more visits, and then potentially.
It's one of those things where I think as smart as a recruit as he is, I think John Meredith is probably going to go through his official visit process before committing. And that just makes the most sense in my head, but it could be any which way. I mean, he could commit right after his Alabama visit. He could commit to A&M after his official visit there. So who knows?
But A&M is getting 2 visits from him. So, I mean, that's pretty big. And I mean, you are going to have every opportunity to lock him down when he's on campus. Alabama's thinking the same thing. I just think that Meredith is kind of the prototype of the type of player. And what we saw with like Brandon Arrington, for example, I always thought it was fascinating. You looked at where Oregon was as a program in terms of developing these corners that have gone off to have great NFL careers. Alabama's kind of the same way, right? Granted, it wasn't Nick Saban, who by trade and by how he started was a cornerback coach, so he was just good at developing those guys, but still the program overall has done a good job there. So, I mean, making that decision, and it does show where A&M is right now, right? Because I've been raving about the secondary. I'm very excited to see what it looks like next year because you got these potential immediate impact players in the transfer portal because they believe in Mike Elko as a secondary coach, and they believe in Kyle Hemphill. And that's you've seen that on the recruiting trail. Like it's the same with Adam Cushing and the O-line. They have full belief in the staff. Like if Adam Cushing would have left, who knows what would have happened at the recruiting with the O-line? I really don't. I mean, if you get some kind of known but unknown name to these young guys just to fill a role, I don't think you're in on everybody. I don't think you're in on Ismail Kamara, right? I don't think you're really making progress with those type of players because Cushing's just been so good at developing those relationships. So, yeah, that's all I want to say. I just thought that was very important because I think that trend is just fascinating to me with these schools now in the NIL era. It's like these guys' relationships over everything, right? They watched one team as a kid. They've been watching as teenagers in high school, seeing these other players at their position develop with these programs, go off to the NFL. So they're thinking, well, that could be me. I think I'm good enough. And maybe that school is going to get me there. So, I think it's kind of interesting that, and we talked pre-show, the Dallas Cowboys actually did formal interviews with Cassius Howe and Scooby Williams, 2 of A&M's veteran players. Obviously, Cassius Howe was unanimous All-American, led the SEC in sacks, was pretty much, I think he's like the 11th or 12th unanimous All-American overall for A&M. So coming off a historic season, we do believe he's going to be a first-round pick. The Cowboys pick, I keep forgetting what the draft. 12th, and I think it's
12th and 21st.
21st, yeah, there you go. So Howell is one of those players who could be available late in the round. He's projected to go like possibly top 15, most likely in the early 20s. So I could easily see that. Scooby Williams is very interesting. I was writing about that yesterday. He's a project player because of his injury history and because of the fact that he did not play a full season. So their tape on him is, lack thereof, I guess, in terms of 2024 was really good. He played with an injury throughout and looked great, like played as one of A&M's best defensive players. Like I remember that game against Mississippi State, where he had his first career interception. I mean, he was all over the place at one point. So it is good that they have that to go off of because, look, injuries happen. You can't really avoid them sometimes. But he is going to be very interesting in terms of maybe a late round draft pick, maybe a UDFA. If he's a UDFA, that's like a very, very talented player with a high upside who's going to be UDFA for whatever team's lucky to get him. But it is good to see that the Cowboys overall, they know what they want with obviously having a new defensive coordinator with a certain philosophy. You do feel that if they're going to play more of a 3-4 defense potentially as base, Cassius Howe would be a perfect player. We've kind of compared him to Nick Herbig with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, they play a 3-4. The way they kind of move around those pass rushers, and you really truly play as an outside linebacker. Cassius Howe is someone who I think is pretty good in coverage already. So if he had to have that role, I don't think he'd be bad at it. But I think that if you could just move him around the defense, find him openings, he's going to wreck. And, the arm length and all that, it's going to be very interesting because the scouting combine does start tomorrow. So I don't think – when do the
edges, I believe, are first.
First, yeah. So we will see that.
So you'll see guys like Albert Regis and Cassius Howe and Tyler Onyedim, guys like that, all are going to kind of show what they're made of tomorrow and really could make a name for themselves. I mean, you and I have kind of discussed where we think Cassius Howe could go. I mean, there's a wide range for him, right? He could go middle of the first round all the way to, halfway to the end of the second round. That's as big of a range as you're going to get with a prospect like that. Unless I believe there was a linebacker taken by Green Bay 2 years ago in the first round that was a projected fourth rounder.
That happens. You're gonna have a lot of reaches. Cowboys are good at that. They reach a lot.
But with guys, I think tomorrow what you're gonna see is just them showing exactly what they are, not trying to outwork other guys, but just kind of show, hey, I have been able to be developed into this player that I am today. So it'll be very, very interesting to see.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, I think you and I both hope that Christian Moran, the Dallas Cowboys' new defensive coordinator, has a lot of say in where they're drafting, who they're drafting. Obviously, you're going to draft mainly defense. We could easily see them get someone like Mansour Delane with the first pick in the draft for them. And then, at 21st, like if Cassius Howe's there, you go get Cassius Howe, because it is funny to me that Cassius Howe's really just being judged by his arm length right now. If he didn't have short arms, he'd be like a top 5 pick, I think. I honestly think that. It is funny how those things work, because we saw that with Tyler Linderbaum, the center who's now one of the better centers in the NFL. Short arms, scared.
Who is a free agent, by the way.
Yeah. But again, it's just, the short arm thing is just, I don't know. I just think it's stupid.
There is a time and place to use those metrics.
Exactly.
But let's say a team at the end of the first round is trying to decide between Cassius Howe and a guy who projects who is the longer arms and a little bit of the better tape that they think. Do you think that they would go over someone like that, or would they consider it more of, hey, this guy has considerably gotten better over every year?
To quote Ruben Bain, the tape speaks for itself. I don't need to go to the combine. That's his choice, but he's kind of right in a way. Like, I do agree with some of those guys. Like, Ruben Bain does have great tape. Like, I would never discredit him for that and saying, like, you need to go to the combine to prove that you're, worthy of a top 10 pick. Like, does Cassius Howe have the tape? Yes. Does Cassius Howe need to help his draft status by going and having a good combine? Yeah. I agree. I mean, both, right? He needs to show that he's an extremely versatile player, that he's a great athlete. That's going to be very important to how they use him. But to answer your question, if there is a player, I just don't think with Parker, compared to like the former defensive coordinators, I just think he's just more up to date with how you're supposed to analyze and evaluate these guys. And I think that with the system he wants to run, I don't think he's just going to pick a guy like a Will McClay would potentially. That's just longer, has decent tape, but where they just project him to be a better player. I think Cash has shown, like, in the right system, he can thrive. So I think you just take a chance on him, because you got to think, like, every mock draft now has him going in the top 15, top 17 to like the early 20s. So I just don't see how he's going to drop that much. Like we talked about Chase Pasantis, for example, he was projected as like 32nd overall to Seattle in one of the mock drafts. And yeah, I could see that being like kind of a surprise pick. I think he's going to be an early second round pick for someone who just needs a guard. Seattle is one of those teams that needs a guard, needs specifically a left guard. But overall, I just think that when it comes to Howell's explosiveness and everything about him that led to his breakout season, Marcus Mosher of Locked On Cowboys did a good job kind of piecing together every one of his snaps, like successful snaps, and all of his sacks. And again, I just don't see how you pass on this player, specifically if you're going to run a system like we think Christian Parker's going to run. So for the Cowboys, I think it's a no-brainer. If they ended up picking Mansour Delane and Cassius Howe if he's available, or if they went with blanking on the Miami Miami defensive lineman,
Akeem Mesidor.
Yes, if they got Akeem Mesidor and they said we like Mesidor more than we like Cash, I'd get that. I do understand that because even though they have a ton of defensive linemen on their defensive tackles, that they're planning to sign and keep, I think his versatility and his length and his attributes and his production last season maybe tied with what I think of Howell, and I think they'd make the right choice here. But this isn't a Cowboys podcast, so we're not going to tell you like, okay, we're not going to keep talking about this. But I just think that it's a very interesting discussion, and I'm very excited to see just how he performs. I'm excited to see how Tyler Oniedem performs because I think he's one of those guys who could make his way to becoming like a 4th round draft pick or 5th round draft pick for a team that's like, man, this guy just came out of nowhere. Like he had a pretty good career at Iowa State, but they used him correctly here in this defense, allowing him to show off his pass rush ability and use that just explosiveness off the snap and line him up against a lesser guard. And he's wreaking havoc in the backfield. So having a chance now to just better himself and get a better draft grade overall, A&M's going to have a great time. I mean, Mike Elko's going to be sitting back with some popcorn, I think, on the first 2 days, just watching all these guys get drafted and go, I told you. I said at least 10.
This is the first couple of days where he gets to sit back and go, these are the fruits of my labor, right?
Exactly.
He's part of it.
Yeah. And think about it, if you talk about recruiting, these guys are all watching this. What do you think they're doing? Like they're not practicing right now. It's winter. They're watching the combine. They're watching these guys play because they want to be there one day. Like they're watching like, man, I want to be there in like 5 years. I want to 6 years. I want to, I want to be the guy they're all talking about being a potential top 5 pick. So they're going to see these guys. And, another player I talk about and I'm thinking about a lot is Will Lee, right?
Mm-hmm.
Will Lee, who had a great career with A&M to finish off, was one of their best defensive players overall, one of the more trusted corners. Didn't have his best year, but, we're going to talk about one of these other A&M corners in a minute who had, a good year, but not a fantastic year, but he's still a great player. But he has a chance to raise that draft grade and become a potential middle of the round pick. And we saw that with Jalen Jones years ago, right? Was I think like 7th round pick.
Yep.
At one point, former 5-star prospect, but again, injuries and he was a good player, but he didn't stand out to scouts as much. Went to Indianapolis. He was a starter there, I think, the last 2 seasons, but did have some injury issues. So it's all possible, and everything's in front of these guys right now, which is just fun to see because we talk about Cash, we talk about Casey Concepcion as potential first-round picks. He's another guy that I think is pretty easy for teams. Like if you need a slot wide receiver and a punt returner, he's your guy. Like right, he's not the biggest guy, but he's extremely fast. He's very versatile. He's got soft hands. He's trusted. He's a good leader. Yada yada yada. All the good stuff. Those are your potential first-round picks. But I'll be honest, after Concepcion and Cassius Howe get selected, I'm excited to see where these other guys get selected.
100%.
They're going to be like kind of crown jewels for whoever they get. Because we talk about the culture that Mike Elko's created, Credit to Jimbo Fisher because, there's a lot of guys still playing in the league that played under Fisher. We're not here to crap on Fisher. I like Jimbo Fisher. So he did, the culture wasn't what we wanted it to be, but for some years it was pretty good. And those guys are still having long careers in the NFL. So overall, though, Albert Regis, like we said, that's another guy that I'm just very excited to see that he can test well tomorrow and potentially help become, get selected in the 5th, 6th, possibly 7th round and have a chance.
Yeah. And all you need is a chance. I think
that's all you need.
There was a conversation I had earlier today where Torian York came up in the conversation, and it's just going, man, why couldn't he have come back for another year? And I thought about it for a moment, and while that is a valid point of like, hey, he has another year of eligibility, he would be welcome back as the hero of the defense again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Torian York, when you have some draft buzz, or sometimes when you know that it's a goal that you had in mind, you need to take that chance.
Exactly.
So that would be my answer to that question now. I think I still need to answer the person about it, but that would be kind of where I'm thinking a lot of these guys should be heading. Take that chance for you to have a professional career in football if that's what your goal is. Otherwise, if you're not feeling fully committed to it, if you're not feeling like you have the best chance for yourself, maybe coming back to the same school you played at is the chance and opportunity for you to show exactly what you're made of for another year and work hard.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that for both sides with Torian York, again, great player for A&M. His story is incredible. I still remember covering, before the 2023 season, my second year covering with Aggies Wire USA Today. And I was just like, man, a 3-star freshman is going to start. We were all kind of flabbergasted at that. But when you saw him practice and you saw his instincts and you saw just the cerebral side, just this guy knows football. He's football all the time. He does not care about his size issues at all. You ask him about, oh, you're 5'10", you're not big, and he literally does not care. And that's what's going to make him a long-term NFL player. He may not be a starter. He may not be a middle linebacker. We don't know. I mean, we'll see how they use him when he does get selected. But that guy's going to find a way onto a roster, and I think going to be there for a while. So it's all about mentality too with these guys. We've seen smaller guys have long careers because they believe in themselves and they study film, and they're just hardworking, physical players. Physicality is going to trump athleticism a lot of the time. I've seen that a lot of special teamers and guys who have made careers on that. So there's a chance for all these players to get it done. But with Torian York, I agree that both sides were kind of finished. I think that he did everything he could for A&M. He had been starting the last 3 years. He stayed with the course with A&M after Fisher left, believed in what Mike Elko was building, and had a great last 2 seasons. I think he led them in tackles last year.
He did.
Yeah. And so he's done everything he can to build an NFL resume. So I think that they wanted to get bigger at the position anyways. So, with this new coaching staff, with what they need to fix, specifically the run defense, I think it was just, cut ties. Thank you. We appreciate you. We'd love you to come back one day as a coach. And that's he's going to be a hell of a coach one day if he goes that route, because I mean, that dude he loves the game. So I think that's really all we have. We're going to talk. Actually, that's going to lead great going in next week because we'll be talking about the scouting combine and the results and how all these guys did, because it does start tomorrow. So we don't have a ton to say on it right now, but we'll definitely talk about that next Tuesday. So before we get to this whole schedule thing, which we're going to finish the show with that, ESPN did 2 articles. Max Olson, one of their better writers there, and he did say that for the best transfer edition was Isaiah Horton, Alabama transfer wide receiver. I think you and I both kind of agreed with that. I think really, and his reason was that, the offense was just missing a piece last season. I mean, you could say the run game kind of dropped off, but at the same time, if you want to talk about Marcel Reed and talk about his importance, getting more size on the outside and becoming that, unstoppable passing game where we do think they can get there, because Marcel Reed is a, rhythm type of quarterback to where if he He gets going. He's confident. His receivers are getting open. He gets more accurate. And then he just becomes a gamer, starts using his legs. And it's kind of like what we saw against LSU. That's the Marcel Reed we want to see every week. And I think getting Isaiah Horton now, who was Alabama's probably second best wide receiver overall, kind of tied with Ryan Williams there, who's maybe probably shared those second number 2, number 3 reps last season. He's the perfect complement to what they need, because you have Mario Craver coming back. You have Ashton Bethel-Roman, both kind of speedy wide receivers, guys who have no problem getting open against coverage and separation. And now you have a guy who truly is going to be a man beater down the boundary, who you can just throw 50-50 balls to. And I always remember a play that it was, I think it was against Notre Dame, where he threw that pass down the sideline. I think it was to Casey Concepcion, and it just got intercepted.
Yes, that would have been. I
remember I either texted you or I'm watching the game. I'm like, okay, this is
that was one of the most. I think I want to credit Leonard Moore on that interception, because Leonard Moore is an exceptional corner, and he just completely ball hawked it. But those are the type of throws that they want Marcel Reed to kind of get better at. And having a 6'4" wide receiver would be able to definitely help that pinpoint the ball a little bit more, where you can put it into a box that's larger now, and drop it in. I think it's interesting that Max Olson said that Isaiah Horton was the one. I don't know how much time was put into each of these teams. I think a lot of it is just looking down the line, like, hey, what did this team not have this past year that could be more beneficial? And Isaiah Horton definitely could be one of those, because going into last season, we saw that they grabbed Mario Craver, who we thought was going to be amazing, and he was. They grabbed Casey Concepcion, who was incredible from the wide receiver position. And then they had guys like Ashton Bethel-Roman and Terry Bussey. These were all guys who, talented wide receivers as they are, they're very much more on the agile side of the wide receiver. It's not more of these guys where you're going to high point every single target. I think that's why they brought in guys like Amari Niblack and Micah Riley and Nate Burkhardt for that matter. You definitely high pointed the ball when you won that game against Notre Dame. So this now gives the Aggies more options. And I think that's what they want to give Marcel Reed, is more options for him to make better decisions, instead of having to feel like he has to force an option that is the best course of action at that time. There could be an argument made that Isaiah Horton might be the second best with guys like, Ricky Gibson coming in from Tennessee, who was an exceptional corner, or a guy like Wilkin Formby from Alabama, who they needed to replace multiple guys along the offensive line. But I can't say that you are wrong, right, in who's going to be the most impactful transfer, just because we haven't seen them fully on the field. But it does give them more options now.
And I think that's what Marcel Reed needed. I think he needed better options, because they kind of had a similar player. Nothing against Casey Concepcion. He's an incredible player. But like when you have these two speed guys and one who is returning punts and doing two jobs, and he's just kind of getting beat up because he's kind of doing everything, and you just had zero size anywhere, it does make your offense, especially your pass game, one-dimensional, where you just have to be like, we're better than you every week, right? That's just how it was. Like, we're faster than you, so we're going to show it. And they showed that against pretty much everybody except for Texas was really the team that kind of shut them down. And even Texas kind of beat them with size. You kind of saw that in that game. Size does matter in terms of becoming a consistent, explosive offense. So when you have a player, Horton is, again, he's not really a true X. He's going to play that position, I think, because he can play the Z. He is one of those, speedy, athletic type of bigger bodied guys. But it's going to be interesting how Holman Wiggins uses him next year, right? Because that's where I'm kind of at, right? I do think you're going to have those 50-50 high point the ball type of plays where it's like, got to have it. Let's get that chunk gain, But at the same time, I'm like, are you going to take that away from Mario Craver, who can just outrun everybody, right? It's one of those weird things where, like, yes, the size is huge. You finally get that 6'4" guy in your offense. You had it with Noah Thomas, who just wasn't reliable because of injury stuff, and they didn't really have anybody around him that was really that great and that consistent with wide receiver. I think you and I both agreed that if Noah Thomas would have stayed in this offense last year, maybe we're talking about A&M go into the second or third round of the college football playoff, because he just adds that other dimension of size on the outside. We just don't know, right? It's because they haven't had it in a while, and they haven't had a Mario Craver and a Bethel Roman at this stage of his career, and Terry Bussey coming on with size yet. So they just don't know what it looks like. That makes sense, right?
You do have a lot of returners on that wide receiver room coming back.
And Jerome Miles is another name.
Jerome Miles is entirely new as well, because he's had a whole offseason to kind of recover from a leg injury. So
he could easily take that job, right? That's we just don't know yet, because we saw Jerome Miles have a pretty good offseason, and then he got hurt again. And so you have to kind of shelve that away. I do think Isaiah Horton is going to be one of the starters. I just think that he's too experienced, and he's pretty much proven that, and they're most likely paying him a lot to come here and make an impact. So
if people want someone to kind of compare him to as someone who is going to play the X but isn't necessarily a true X, he could play the Y if he really wanted to, is a guy who's in the NFL now with the Houston Texans and Nico Collins.
Yeah, agreed.
He could be one of those guys where 6'4", 225 pounds at a wide receiver position is not unheard of, but it's huge, right? Yeah. So that's the kind of guy, if you wanted comparisons, which we're not fully all just comparing all these players all day. These are their own individual players, but Isaiah Horton could be that guy. I do notice that Max Olson also listed like the best returner for A&M as well in a different article. And he said Des Ricks was the guy, which
is interesting, right? That's an interesting selection.
It's interesting because, and looking into it and realizing why he did it, I get it now.
Yeah,
Des Ricks was coming off of a 2024 season where the back half of the season was awful, right? I mean, in that USC game alone, the bowl game at the end, it was just, you didn't want to watch what Jacoby Lane was doing to him, right? But in 2025, he took it personally. He was in the weight room. You can definitely tell he was able to have more of the ball hawk plays, way more than he had. I mean, it felt like every week we were seeing coverage grades from him just graded out at like an 80 plus, where he was just not allowing catches. He was shadowing his guy every single time. So I'm very pleased with what he did this past season. And he could be the impact guy this next season because of the departure of Will Lee, right? So
and I agree. I think because I kind of looked at it first and I was like, you know what though? I mean, you got to think of all the guys that are losing to the NFL draft. I mean, 13 guys who added the scouting combine. There's a lot of new names on here. So when you were talking about returning players overall, you could say Marcel Reed. Yes, you could say, Ruben Owens even. You could say all these guys on offense. I mean, you could say Mark Naboo, to be honest with you, because of his importance on the offensive line coming back at center. But at the same time, you look at the defense, you look at the secondary. We talked about Ricky Gibson, who we both believe is going to be a highly impactful player next year. Des Ricks is the veteran now in that room. So he is the leader in that cornerback room. So it's like you see what he did last year. He knows what he has to continue working on. He only allowed like 40% of the passes thrown at him, which, again, pretty darn good when everybody's targeting you at the end of the season. Did have a much better end of the year overall. I think he ended with like a 63.5 or something PFF grade. So that's pretty good, because cornerback, again, it is a thankless job. I mean, there are only so many elite corners out there. We talked about someone like Mansour Delane, for example, from LSU, who's projected as a top 15 pick in the NFL draft. Like, he's a rarity. These guys are rare to find. So when you do have someone like Des Ricks, where you signed the program, your secondary is in very good shape. And I think it could end up being the strength of that defense. I'm not kidding you. Like, all the players they have, getting Taufik Bayard from the transfer portal as well. I mean, the safety room, Marcus Radcliffe, Dalton Brooks coming back, they are loaded there.
Yeah, exactly. I get it.
I
think that in my mind, Marcus Radcliffe is probably the guy I look to first in the.
I agree. I think he could have easily been.
But Des Ricks could be that guy. So definitely a great read if you guys
want to. It's a good article,
go over to ESPN. Max Olson does a very good job of going in depth with what he thinks. But our last segment for tonight. So that SEC podcast, Michael Bratton does very well over there. So we're actually pretty avid listeners of what they have to say, because they really put it in good terms with, guys who are looking from the outside in, right?
Sure.
So they went over every single SEC game or every single SEC schedule, and we're going, hey, these are what we're looking for. These are the games that we're like, hey, this is a rough stretch coming up. And they got onto the topic of A&M. So we're just going to throw their schedule up for this season. So they were talking about the last 4 games of the schedule after that bye week after Alabama, where they're saying, hey, they have to go to South Carolina, who's given them trouble here. They have to host Tennessee. They go to Oklahoma, and then they host Texas. They were saying that, they really don't see a world where the Aggies come out unscathed during that 4-game stretch. I think Michael was on the side of, hey, I definitely don't see them not taking a loss or not coming out unscathed during this stretch. But there was some cautious optimism that, hey, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it is a gauntlet those last 4 games.
Yeah, but again, I'll be the first to say it's too early. It's too early to know. I hate doing that because it's not our job. We're supposed to keep projecting that, but it is too early because I don't know how good South Carolina is going to be. I have no idea because they were kind of a train wreck last season. I get Lenore Sellers coming back. I get they have a new OC. I get they have an experienced offensive line. And I understand the hype behind Lenore Sellers because he's huge and he can move and he's got a huge arm. You got to put it together. I mean, I got to see an impressive start and consistency from them at the start of the season to think, oh crap, it's going to be a tough out. And I get that A&M lost at South Carolina 2 years ago. It was the famous game where Le'Veon Moss was out for the year after. They just got blitzed and killed by, I think it was 30, what was it, 30 to 40 to something. I forget. I wiped that away from my memory. It just doesn't matter. It was a bad season. But either way, Oklahoma is the one. Yes, I'm looking at that. That is going to be very, very tough just because playing in Norman overall doesn't matter how good Oklahoma is. They'd have to, even if they're a bad Oklahoma team, we saw a couple of years ago when they played Alabama, who was trying to get a college football playoff spot. I mean, they beat the crap out of the Crimson Tide in Norman. So it's a late game too. And I'd actually rather them play that game late in the season because if we do think A&M is going to be as good as if we think A&M is going to be as good as we think they are, does that sound good? They should be polished by then, right? They should be able to withstand. They would have already played at, again, you can see on the schedule, LSU, Missouri on the road. Again, you played them on the road last year. Alabama on the road. We don't know how good Alabama is going to be. They're going to have a new quarterback. They have a head coach right now who's not on the hot seat, but it's warm. I'll say that. It's a little warm.
Well, I also look at this schedule and with all due respect to Missouri State and the Citadel, I think we're going to chalk those up as hey, it could be a dangerous one if you overlook it, but just kind of, hey, look at all the other teams right now. I think you face 7 teams who are coming in with a new starting QB, right? I mean,
yeah.
And the ones that are returning are in that Final 4 stretch where it is Lenore Sellers, where it is John Materin, where it is Arch Manning. All the other ones have new starting QBs this season, whether that's ASU with Cutter Boley, whether that's Kentucky with the guy from Notre Dame, Kenny Minchie, right? You go down the line, and 2 of these teams are going to have QB battles, right, with Tennessee and Alabama. So I'm interested to see, and maybe Michael from that SEC podcast does have a point where, hey, this last 4 game of the season, you could see them, taking a loss, right? But coming out unscathed, I don't know if that's the projection of what you want. You might want them to get a little bit hurt before heading towards what could be a bowl game or a college football playoff with their aspirations and building off what they had this past season. So it's hard to go 11-1 again. I think you and I are still too far away from predicting a win-loss record for next season. So it's a very good conversation to have. And I think that they brought up a good point for it. So Well, definitely as we get closer, especially throughout the summer, I think we'll be able to get more of the projections that we were kind of thinking for this. And we'll, of course, have more people on to talk about the prospective teams that A&M is going to be facing this year.
When we get through the spring football schedule, we'll have a better grasp of how good this team is. I know people say, "Oh, it's spring, who cares?" No, it's important. And it's very important with the new 17 transfer additions, seeing how everybody fits. We're going to see battles along the O-line, what the offense could potentially look like. We're going to see Marcel Reed play in that game. We're going to see Isaiah Horton likely play in that game. We're going to see all these new players. We're going to see an Anto Saka. We're going to see a Ricky Gibson most likely get back on the field. So you're going to see, potential impact players that are new to the program, that a lot of people, like you said, the kind of the outside looking in fan base that, we try to write for, that we try to cover the team for so they can keep up to date with stuff because everybody's got a busy life out there that doesn't do this for a career. They're going to get the chance to see just how good this team can be with these new additions and the returning players. So you look at the road, but I think it's an important point, and we'll talk about it more. Like a lot of these teams are dealing with quarterback battles this offseason. So look, A&M isn't. They've got their starter. They've got a guy that they trust. They've got somebody who has won for them already, who, he has to get better. He has to work on his own problems. And we can talk about that forever. I think it's actually kind of a boring topic right now because we've already done it. I think the past year talking about what he needs to get better at, and he knows, but that having continuity at that position is so important. And especially ASU, right? Because we thought that was a completely different game before Sam quarterback.
Levitt,
thank you. Tired. Transferred to LSU. We thought they were going to be playing Sam Levitt, right? Now they're playing Cutter Boley, who, no offense to Cutter Boley, but he's Cutter Boley. He's not Sam Levitt. He's a good quarterback.
You? Cutter Boley is a hero who almost beat Texas.
I know, but well, with his legs, yeah. They should have beaten Texas, to be honest. I'm still pissed about the game. But he's not as polished yet. He could end up being a good quarterback. He was a 3-star recruit for a reason, so he's not somebody who's going to kill you with his arm, I don't think. But we will know more as we get closer and closer to the season. I know that it's redundant and we can easily talk about it now, but when we get past spring, I think we'll have a better grasp of just how good these teams are and how good A&M could be. So
100%.
Yeah. So, we're going to end the show with this. A&M basketball is playing tonight. They're in Fayetteville, big game. If they can get this win, I think I both agree they are nearly a lock for the NCAA tournament. If they end up losing this game, it's another quad one loss, but you got work to do. But either way, I mean, they haven't won. I think Luke Evangelos put that out today. They've won one game in Fayetteville since '87.
Oh,
nuts. That's crazy. I was like, man, no, what's funny? I was talking to someone today. I was like, the guy who always comes with Arkansas basketball is who? Tremont Mark. Every time. I'll forget that. I remember I was covering that game. I think Taylor had a career night. They were that close to getting the win. And then he just runs down the court, gets a layup.
Hey, they'll have their chance to face Tremont again on Saturday. So, but yeah, I agree. I think that if they are able to somehow get a win tonight at Fayetteville against Calipari and his team, they have an exceptional squad. I think that every time I tune into their games, I'm always entranced with how their offense runs, their team cohesion together year after year. I don't know how Calipari does it, where he just has full buy-in from guys who are only one and dones. It's a testament to good coaching, right?
Yeah.
So, but A&M's in year one, trying to get a couple of more wins under the belt so that they can secure a spot and feel good about themselves making the tournament right now. I think they're hovering around a high 9, low 10 seed right now.
Yeah, I think you'd actually want the 11 seed. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think in terms of how it's going to match up, that's just me. I've seen them in the past, but I think I think you think everybody who covers A&M thinks they're just focused on each game because they had to get past that 4-game losing streak. They did it. They got a close win against Ole Miss. They beat Oklahoma on the road. They got another quad one win. They're looking at obviously Arkansas tonight, Texas at home, Kentucky at home, and LSU on the road. You got to beat LSU on the road. I think you need one of two against Texas or Kentucky. And I think maybe in an SEC tournament win or two, you're in good shape. So I think they know that. But at the same time, it's like
we're hesitantly optimistic for their chances right now, I think is what the case is. But y'all will have to tune into the last 4 games of the regular season to find out.
Yeah, and they'll be done with bowl games next time we're on here, so we'll have a better grasp of where they're at. So, we'll be back next Tuesday. We're doing this Wednesday night because of scheduling conflicts. So we'll be back next Tuesday night. We'll be talking to Combine, most likely some recruiting stuff. Pretty much just a lot of football stuff because it's getting closer and closer to spring football. We will probably talk a little basketball depending on what happens this week, tonight and Saturday, but there's going to be a lot of that. And it's important to note that A&M baseball is 8-0, beat Lamar 25-5 last night. So I turned the game off. I wasn't covering. I turned the game off after it was like the 8th inning or 6th inning. I knew they were going to run roll.
It was time.
They
were due for it.
They were. And Caden Sorrell had a monster night. Had a grand slam, 2 home runs total. Just that kid's insane. They are going to play an important tournament this weekend in Arlington, facing an Arizona State team that just demolished Oklahoma last night. UCLA, who's still ranked number 1. They got a couple losses. They actually lost last night too. And I believe, who's the last game?
I forget the last game. Hey guys, guess what? Tune in, you'll find out.
Yeah. So either way, it's a big weekend for everybody. So, all right, guys. As always, you can follow me at Cameron Honesty. You can follow Cannon at Torres Cannon. You can follow all my work at Aggies Wire, part of USA Today Sports. And Cannon, plug your Patreon.
You can follow me over for your recruiting needs for football and basketball over at Bell Tower, right over here in the upper left corner. Go ahead and scan it. Is it the other way?
It's that way.
For me, it's on this side.
It was that way then. They'll see it.
Oh, they'll see it. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Whatever side it is, if you want the intel that we discussed earlier, a little bit earlier, you can go ahead and follow me over on there.
All right. Bye, guys. See you next Tuesday.